What's going on, everyone? How are you guys doing? I just want to talk to you for a few minutes today, not take up too much of your time. Obviously, nothing crazy going on, but I want to provide some thoughts on how I currently feel about Carson Wentz. I know I've seen a lot of talk, a lot of speculation about Carson Wentz, even some from within the Eagles fan base. And I just want to talk about a few things today and just clear the way for some things. If you need to hear this, then good. But first off, let me go ahead and say, I believe that this opportunity in the upcoming season, as long as everything works out normal, I think Carson Wentz will be a legitimate MVP candidate, and we'll get into why. But first off, I just want to say, it's crazy to think how much, negativity Carson Wentz can get, even though he has been statistically and even with the eye test when he's healthy, a good quarterback. Like, look at the past couple years, right? Like, Carson Wentz, there are people in this fan base that will always be split against him because he wasn't able to finish off the Super Bowl championship in 2017. It's true. Nick Foles did that, and for some people, they'll never get over it. I've been one to say that we should cherish Nick Foles and also appreciate Carson Wentz because you never know when we'll be back in the scuffle looking for a quarterback. But Carson Wentz has some talent that not a lot of guys have. Now, there's people that go the other way as well, We have to hold Carson Wentz accountable as our guy, as our franchise piece. We got to hold him to our high standards that we do here in Philadelphia, right? With Philadelphia sports. But when week one comes, when we're back in game mode, when we're all on the couch on a Sunday afternoon watching games, I'm telling you guys, we all have to back this guy because he is our quarterback and he is showing a lot of potential and he is very, very talented. Now, number one, what I want to say is, despite everything that has happened in terms of the injuries, right? Carson Wentz, like even this last season, proved what he can do. Even look at the past 3 years. Like, people talk down on him, but Carson Wentz has over 80 touchdowns and like 20 interceptions in the last 3 years. Carson Wentz last season, we all know it, I'm going to stress it again, took Greg Ward, Deontay Burnett, took them down the stretch, even though the Cowboys had the most offensive yards in the league. Carson Wentz took those boys when things got hard. What did he do? He elevated the people around him, threw for over 4,000 yards without a wide receiver having over 500 yards. And he proved the question of leadership down the stretch. Do you guys know that he became the only quarterback, and he did this down the stretch last season against 3 division opponents? He became the only quarterback to have 3 straight games of 30 completions and no interceptions. Carson Wentz has been a good quarterback. Look at the stats. And even in the big-time situations, right, in the red zone, Carson Wentz has been one of the best quarterbacks. Since 2016, Carson Wentz has 72 touchdowns and 2 interceptions in the red zone. Carson Wentz in 2019 had 20 touchdowns and no interceptions in the red zone. Do we know that Carson Wentz, since 2017, has a quarterback rating of 107.2 in the red zone, only trailing the great Drew Brees? Like, when it comes, to looking at the big moments, Carson Wentz can come up big. We saw back in 2017, he has that MVP potential. He has that magic around him when things are going well, when he's being put in the right situations to succeed, when we have the right pieces out there. He's never really had a legitimate number one, but he has worked with what he's had. He's been able to make magic happen sometimes out of nothing, as we saw last season. But Carson Wentz has the intangibles. He can do the little things. And I'm just telling you, with everything that has gone on, like this offseason, the way we were able to get younger and rebuild in such a short time, the way we were able to get a lot of speed at the wideout in here, given all the weapons, given that we have 2 of the top 5 talented, in terms of talent, tight ends in the NFL, given the fact that Miles Sanders is talking MVP potential, the fact that we saw that kid grow up so much last year, and I'm expecting even more from him this year, everyone is. Given all of these weapons we're giving Wentz, I mean, we have depth even at the running back position, right? We have a great offensive line. Given all of these things, if we stay healthy, I'm telling you, combine that with the fact, we know Carson Wentz really isn't nervous about Jalen Hurts taking over his job, right? But he'll always have that, little chip on his shoulder now. He's always had it, really, over the years because of the whole Foles thing. It's never going to go away. And Carson Wentz entering his prime, getting paid last year, I think that he believes how he trusts him in terms of his talent as a quarterback. But we know, right? We know it was kind of, a little subliminal shot at Carson with drafting Jalen Hurts, right? How we kind of told him, we trust you to win games, right? But at the same time, if you were to go down again, things could get a little eerie, could get a little questionable, right? They could. So Carson Wentz, I believe that when athletes are put in these kind of pressure situations, especially a guy like Carson Wentz who has dealt with it before, he's going to know how to step up to the challenge. He's going to know how to step up to the table and get it done. Another thing we also have to take into account is our strength of schedule. Like, I know it's not college football, guys, but when looking at the MVP race, if we're looking at Carson Wentz and we're looking at another guy, say Russell Wilson, who's close to him, if the Eagles played all these tough competitors, if Carson Wentz outduels some of these top quarterbacks, maybe even some that are in the MVP race with him, that's going to give him a benefit. And with what I'm expecting the Eagles defense to be, if they can hold opposing offenses off the field, right? If they can give Carson Wentz more touches, I'm telling you, if the majority of this Eagles team and this Eagles offense stays healthy, Carson Wentz will be a legitimate MVP candidate in 2020. I'm telling you, this guy can throw 35, 40 touchdowns, at least 4,000, 4,500 yards. If everything works together, everything meshes, and everyone stays healthy. That is just my personal opinion. I think he's going to step up to the table. And now, like I said, entering his prime, it is now the time. Eagles, we thought they were going to take a little bit of a rebuild, but they are in win mode. I'm telling you, by the end of the season and throughout, people are going to see Carson Wentz, it goes underrated that he was able to stay healthy for a whole 16 games last year and what he was able to do in terms of leadership just because he got taken out by a cheap shot. But everyone will come together this season, I hope, and support this guy because I'm telling you, big things are to come. This is Carson Wentz's team, and I think he does have the capability to take us where we want to go and where we need to go. All people will finally recognize him in that top echelon of quarterbacks, which is where he deserves to be. He can do things that only a few quarterbacks can. He will lead the Philadelphia Eagles this year to where we need to go. I'm telling you guys. Let me know down below what you guys are thinking about all this Carson Wentz talk. Appreciate you guys for tuning in. Like, comment, and subscribe. I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.